2004 tsunami. How humans created one of history's deadliest natural disasters, Thailand case. What if I told you that the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami that killed 230,000 people wasn't really a natural disaster at all? You're probably thinking I've lost my mind. But here's what the media never told you. The catastrophic death toll in Thailand wasn't caused by the wave itself. It was caused by 30 years of human decisions that systematically stripped away nature's defenses and placed vulnerable people directly in harm's way. The missing warning system. Let's start with the most shocking failure. When that 9.1 magnitude earthquake struck off Sumatra on December 26, 2004, it generated tsunami waves racing across the Indian Ocean at over 500 miles per hour. But here's what will blow your mind. There was absolutely no tsunami warning system in the Indian Ocean. None. Zero. The Pacific Ocean had been protected by warning systems since 1949, saving countless lives for decades. But the Indian Ocean? Complete silence. Picture millions of people having breakfast, walking beaches, working in hotels, with massive waves approaching and nobody knowing what was coming. Scientists recently discovered this wasn't just oversight. It was governance fragmentation. Different countries, different agencies, nobody taking responsibility. The result? Hours passed with waves approaching populated coastlines, and not a single warning was issued. Pause and think about this. If you were on a Thai beach that morning and saw the ocean suddenly retreat hundreds of meters, would you have recognized the warning signs? Drop a comment below. The manufactured vulnerability. Now, here's where this gets really disturbing. The tsunami didn't randomly hit Thailand's coast. It followed what researchers call a cartography of pre-existing vulnerability. The waves hit hardest exactly where humans had spent decades removing nature's protection systems. Picture Thailand's coast in the 1970s. Miles of dense mangrove forests formed natural barriers between ocean and communities. These weren't just trees. They were living tsunami walls, capable of absorbing massive wave energy. But then came the tourism boom. International developers saw dollar signs. Hotel chains wanted unobstructed views. So the mangroves were systematically cleared, cut down, bulldozed, replaced with resorts and pools. Here's what the tourism industry won't tell you. Every acre of mangrove removed was like taking down a section of seawall. Environmental scientists warned about this for years, but they were ignored for short-term profits. The paradise tourists came to experience was literally built on manufactured vulnerability. The geography of suffering. When waves finally arrived, they didn't affect everyone equally. This becomes a tragedy of social justice. Phang Nga province suffered 4,225 deaths, 8 times more than neighboring Phuket, with 279 fatalities. Why? Not because waves were bigger, but because of who lived where and who had access to what. The tourism machine created an internationalization of risk. Wealthy tourists stayed in elevated resorts, but the people serving them, housekeepers, fishermen, construction workers, many without legal status, were housed in the most dangerous waterfront areas, in flimsy structures with no warnings and nowhere to run. Here's disturbing data. Foreign nationals made up more than 36% of victims in Thailand, despite being a tiny population fraction. These were people who flew thousands of miles to a tropical paradise, never knowing they were checking into a disaster zone, decades in the making. Think about this. When you travel to paradise destinations, do you consider who made that paradise possible and where they live? The contrast tells the real story of disaster risk. The transformation. But here's where this catastrophic failure takes an unexpected turn. Sometimes unthinkable tragedy exposes systems that should have been fixed long ago. The 2004 tsunami became a focusing event, a catastrophe so massive and preventable that it forces fundamental change. The scale of institutional failure was impossible to ignore. It shattered old thinking about borders and shared responsibility. Within months, the Indian Ocean tsunami warning system was being built. Countries that never cooperated found themselves working together on early warning systems and risk reduction. Which terrifies you more? natural hazards we can't predict, or human-made vulnerabilities we choose not to address? Let me know in the comments, because this choice defines how we prepare for future disasters. The paradigm shift and call to action. Here's the paradigm shift that changes everything. The 2004 tsunami wasn't about nature's power. It was about the power of human choices. Every cleared mangrove, every resort on floodplains, every warning system not installed, these were decisions made by people with other options. The waves were natural, but the disaster, massive loss of life, concentrated suffering, was socially constructed, built by decades of prioritizing short-term profits over protection, growth over environmental wisdom, and tourist convenience over community safety. What this means for all of us is that the natural disasters we fear most are often ones we create through our choices. Paradise destinations often exist because someone decided natural protection was worth less than development opportunities. But here's hope. If disasters can be socially constructed, they can be socially prevented. Regional cooperation, emerging from 2004, shows that when we work together, prioritizing resilience over short-term gains, we can build systems that protect people. This is exactly why channels like Disaster Research Notes are so crucial. By understanding how human choices shape catastrophes, we can make better decisions that protect not only ourselves, but also the most vulnerable in our communities. The knowledge you gain from disaster research doesn't just keep you safe, it helps you recognize and address the social vulnerabilities that put others at risk. The 2004 tsunami taught us there's no such thing as a purely natural disaster, only natural hazards and human vulnerabilities. The question isn't whether the next disaster will hit, but whether we'll learn from the social failures that turned the last one into a preventable catastrophe. If this changed how you think about disasters, hit subscribe and the notification bell for more stories about how human choices shape catastrophic events. Check out Disaster Research Notes for deeper insights into disaster research and resilience building. Remember, the more we understand about disaster vulnerability, the better we can protect our communities. What are we going to do with this knowledge? That choice is ours to make.